Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
In earth. As it is in heaven.
As it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread.
And forgive us our debts.
And forgive us our debts.
As we forgive our debtors.
As we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation.
Lead us not into temptation.
But deliver us from evil.
But deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom.
For thine is the kingdom.
And the power.
And the power.
And the glory.
And the glory.
Forever.
Forever.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
For he is good.
For he is good.
And his mercy endures forever.
And his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good. Our opening scripture will be read from Proverbs 22, 1 through 9. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The poor and the rich meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth evil, and he hideth them. A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself. But the simple pass on, and are punished. By humility and fear of the Lord are the riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that keepeth his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fall. He that hath a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth his bread to the poor. Again, our opening scripture was from Proverbs 22, 1 through 9. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading, hearing, and doing of his word. Amen.
In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, good.
As always, it is a pleasure to stand before you guys and get here to New York. See some new faces. I hope y'all had a good time at the feast last week. Everybody recovering pretty well.
Yes.
I'm still recovering. Yeah, we had a wonderful time out there. Glad to see New York in the building. So today we're going to deal with Armageddon, the final end to Babylon. So the lesson is set up kind of in two different ways. One is we're going to understand who and what Babylon is. And I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. Because, when what we about to start doing today, we're going to start digging into history a little bit. But not too tough. And I got like some maps that I'm going to try to help you see as we progress through the class. But really, the Bible shows us Babylon, and really the absolute origin of Babylon is in Genesis. I'm gonna show y'all this. Let's go to Genesis real quick. This is the absolute origin of Babylon. Genesis chapter, and then what happens? Genesis 11. Well, Genesis 10. We'll do this. And so what happens with Babylon is it from back in Genesis. But for the sake of this lesson, when we begin to deal with Babylon, we don't know. Noah has 3 sons, and from these 3, the black nations or the African nations, the rest of the world. So now we're going to look at Ham, and we're going to find the origin of Babylon.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord.
Keep reading.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
And we get one of the things called the Hammurabi Codes. You'll learn world history in school. And what this is a term that the Gentile came up with for a group of people, and that's not necessarily all Africans aren't even Hamites, if you really look at it from that perspective. So anyway, this is your origin of Babylon, and it said, verse 10, in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So Shinar today, if I'm not mistaken, is where what was my man name? Saddam Hussein. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's Iraq. Yeah, but that's where he ruled from. Okay. So and what you got and what you learn is I got a map here to kind of show you a little bit so we can see. And this is all relevant to today's class. But and I know I know you can't necessarily see the map in detail right now, and we will at some point. I just want to show you something. So what this map does is it folds in half to eliminate our side of the world. And there's a reason that I did that, because nobody's from over here. The world started over here on this side. So when you look at the world starting over this on this side, and this as being the world, this is what we like to call the Middle East part. But what this is really is the center of the world. If this is all we got of the world, we ain't gonna deal with that aspect. So you got access to get to wherever you want to get from this part. And Iraq, Tigris, Euphrates River, this is where civilization started. So we talking about, this is where Babylon started. And the kingdom, as we're going to learn today, each person's kingdom is going to spread based off of this central location. And when I say each person's kingdom, it's because we're going to, Armageddon is the final end to Babylon. So we're going to build up and learn who Babylon is through the course of this lesson. And then that way we're going to understand when we destroy it, who we have destroyed. So we're going to go ahead and start this off at Matthew chapter 24. Oh, sorry, that was all I had made. I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be this many people here. Okay, good. Which is definitely good that we have this many people here. But Sister Lisa, do you remember coming to church saying, probably about 2 years ago now, yeah, you know, we need some more sisters here. You remember that statement? You don't feel so alone no more, huh? Yeah, so from humble beginnings, because we sure can't fit in that room in the Y. I know, right? Or could we hear, huh? Yep, that's all right. Praise the Lord. Matthew 24, and let's pick this up at verse 3. So Matthew 24 is the chapter that teaches us the coming of the Lord. And this is why we're here. And we're going to start here, although once we come here, we're going to actually go back in time or back in history when we go back to Daniel. So Matthew 24, and let's pick this up at verse 3. When you get there, go ahead and read.
And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?
So when you start discussing what should these things be and the sign of thy coming and the end of the world, we're talking about Jesus saw the temple. And when he saw the temple, he was like, man, this temple going to be destroyed. And and this temple, the thing about this temple is it took them so long to build it, and it was supposed to be like God's temple was supposed to be a special place, just like the initial temple was a special place. Okay, so it's a big deal for them to destroy it. Go ahead, keep reading.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you.
So the disciple Matthew in this case is answering, when is this temple going to be destroyed? But more importantly, what's the sign of your coming and the end of the world? And that's really what we here looking most about, is the end of the world. See, the thing about it is these disciples were under the misconception when they was with Jesus that Jesus was going to rule the world like now. You know what I'm saying? He was anointed king. Like they thought he was going to overthrow like Edom and rule. And that's why it's a big deal that they being seen in the temple. Because this is where, the king would have some relevance to this temple here, if that were the case. Even when he died and resurrected, and they talked with him, they like, are you now going to restore the kingdom back to Israel? And he like, no, I'm not yet. And then he breaks that down. And that's what he's doing here. He's going to break down here what has to happen. So he says, take heed that no man deceive you. Verse 5.
For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.
Go ahead.
For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake.
So all these things have to take place before the Lord comes. And this is what he's trying to explain to them here. Keep reading.
And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise.
So he like, man, we far from the kingdom right now. This is what he's trying to explain to them. We far from the coming of the Lord. Go ahead.
And shall deceive many. 12.
Let's skip down to 15. I'm sorry.
15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place.
So this is one of the things that we're going to learn today as well. We're going to learn the abomination of desolation. He's saying when you see, the abomination of desolation, stand in the holy place. So that's something that you got to look for. And he's actually going to come out of the 4 kingdoms, because we're going to learn about 4 kingdoms today. Babylon being the first, and then we'll learn Babylon and Medo-Persia, then Greece and Rome. And so this abomination of desolation, and we're going to just go ahead and get him. Okay, man, we're not going to get him up here.
Maybe that one might be dry.
Oh, yeah.
Find another one.
Yeah, well, at any rate, we're going to get him up here. I think if I can write him down on this board, is this abomination of desolation. Let's try this one. There we go. All right. I don't usually spell it. I know, right? I am. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we just leave that there. But he gonna come out of the 4th kingdom, which is Rome, and we're gonna see him. Okay? We're gonna see him a little later. Alright, so he said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, and notice how it says spoken of by Daniel the prophet. So we're gonna look, and if you look at your lesson, you're gonna see that we got Daniel the prophet, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 8, Daniel chapter 11. These are going to be the places where we're going to investigate the abomination of desolation. So you got to see this before the return of the Lord. Keep reading.
When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house.
Go ahead.
Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time.
So we're going to go from the abomination of desolation to the great tribulation. Because part of what we're doing today is we are getting a complete look at the end time prophecy. Well, what happens is, and terms like the Great Tribulation is used when you start dealing with the end times. Armageddon is used. But what happens is people put the rapture somewhere in there. And what you learn is you don't get raptured off, or you don't leave this place. So they get the order of events that take place in the end. They get them wrong. Okay? So when you see the abomination of desolation, he basically telling you to flee, because this is going to be the start of the Great Tribulation, okay? Which coincidentally is, which we weren't going to really touch too much today, but it's 3.5 years, not 7. All right? So then verse 21, then shall be a great tribulation such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor there ever shall be. Let's skip down to 25.
Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Right, so what we're getting at is no type of secret rapture. Just like you see lightning, you're going to see this coming of the Son of Man. Okay, and it's going to be after the Great Tribulation period, not before. Not like he going to rapture you and then it's going to be some tribulation and then he going to return to the earth to set up his kingdom or something of that nature. It's not going down like that. Keep reading though.
For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together.
Uh-huh.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn.
See, what a lot of people don't realize is this so much not going to be a secret that the Lord going to literally open up the heavens and be here in the sky for months. That was one of the greater mysteries that I learned, once I was in the Word and understood the coming of the Lord, but I didn't get that part. Like, I thought the Lord was going to come back on the last day. He's going to actually come back months before the last day. And so that's why when you read here and it says, verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So they're going to see him. So this is what Armageddon is going to lead up to. Because when they seeing him, they going to be looking to, just like all the movies they set up. I don't know how many people saw the Independence Day with Will Smith in it, but that was like the prime example to me of how they going to think when the Lord comes back. He gonna crack open the sky like them aliens did, and what was the first thing we thought to do is go shoot at him. You know what I'm saying? And we got our butt kicked in that movie, just like we're gonna get our butt kicked more in real life though. So he said, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, they shall see the Son of Man coming in clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Verse 31.
And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet.
Right, so that's something else that we identify with the end time is the trumpet. These are things that your theologians and your scholarly people understand are to take place at the coming of the Lord. I still remember watching the video called The Late Great Planet Earth. You saw that one before? And it's a book too. It's by Alex Haley, is that who Hal Lindsey. Yeah, Hal Lindsey. That's who did it. Just a theologian. Alex Haley wrote Roots. I don't know what I was thinking.
But Wells narrated the movie.
Well, when you watch it though, one of the things that they let you hear is what they think the trumpet's gonna sound like. You know what I'm saying? So my point is the trumpets are something that you definitely identify with the coming of the Lord. And we're going to look into those trumpets today as well. So like I said, today we're going to get into a lot of detail, and there's not a whole lot of us, so if I move too fast, slow me down. But we're going to really capture Armageddon, the final end of Babylon. So let's go ahead in Daniel chapter 7, and let's start investigating who this Babylon is. And again, we do understand that the original Babylonian kingdom started off with Nimrod. And what I've learned in studying the Bible is that the Lord has handed the three sons of Noah ownership of this planet. And what I mean by ownership of this planet, like rulership of this planet. Like the original rulers of this planet was Ham. Whether it was the Egyptians or when you start looking at, the Egyptians and the original Babylonians and Hammurabi and the Sumerians and all the, when you go that far back in history, that's all African nations. They were the original rulers of this planet, okay? Now, or I should say Hamitic nations, not African. That's really an incorrect statement because Africa, and I like to show people this too, this ain't even Africa right here. Africa stopped right here at Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia. This Middle East ain't even Africa. Nah, it's actually Asia. And brothers like to argue that with me too. So the Sumerians and stuff come from up in here. The earth started here, like in this upper part of what is considered the Middle East. Where for those that can't see, but it's in Iraq, but it's Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. If you use those as 3 corner points, then it would be kind of centered to that, okay? So at any rate, so I don't like to use the term African, but I just know people can identify with that. But it's a very inaccurate term. But anyway, the Lord has given the Hamites the rulership of the world. Then Shem, like we kind of ruled, like Israel kind of ruled really in the time period of Ham. I used to say that we ruled the world then, but really we didn't rule. Like we just kind of ruled with Ham. That's why when you read and it talk about Solomon, it say the queen of Sheba came. Sheba, the queen of Ethiopia. So Ham still really ruling the world. They just can't rule us. Notice David was rocking with the Egyptians, and notice who we was fighting. We was fighting Hamitic nations while we were in our kingdom. And then the Philistines, exactly. So, but then there's a transition while we ruling to where the Gentiles take over. When you look in the days of Hezekiah, now he's starting to deal with Babylonians and stuff, and really we starting to move toward the Gentile dynasty. And the Gentile dynasty gonna start with Babylon, and it's gonna go all the way to no, I'm sorry. I was looking on here to see if Jeremiah 25 was on this paper, because I could do it like that. But that's okay. We just going to talk it through. So the Gentile dynasty start from Babylon, and as we're going to learn today, it's going to go from the Medes to the Persians to the Greeks to the Romans. And what it is each one has had some type of influence of sticking around. You think of Greece or the Greeks, and the first thing that I really identify with is our educational system. And I think like how we call ourselves the Greek fraternities and Greek sororities, just to let us know. Now, we're not even going to get into the structures of these buildings. And when you see some of these structures, they come from some type of era. But then, the eagle himself, that's Babylonian. You know what I'm saying? Which take Babylon to Rome even. And then the Medo-Persian Empire, which we're going to look at, which is Persia and the Medes, they give us stuff like, actually that's where we get Christmas from. The worship of the god Mithra. The way we celebrate Christmas really come from the Medo-Persian Empire. But even more than that, though, when you start talking about genies that come from that type of time era, just certain things of that nature still trickle down into, like Aladdin, like certain things of that nature still trickle down into our society, okay? So at any rate, let's pick this up first with Daniel chapter 7, and we're going to see all 4, but then I'm sorry, that's what I was getting at. The last son to rule would be Shem, but that'll come when Jesus returns. And his dynasty will rule, or the Shemitic dynasty, or when Shem get to rule, his son get to rule, it'll be ruled like a utopia around here. But we'll deal with that another time. So, at any rate, Daniel 7, let's pick it up in verse 1. And when you get there, go ahead.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream.
So now what the Bible does, so that we could actually find out when the Bible is talking about, like what year, like 645 BC or something. It'll give you a king, and that King Belshazzar, you should be able to actually Google him. It's going to give you a year, so that you can kind of identify and relate it to how long ago this was today. And the Bible does this. It shows each of these writers, this is how, instead of saying today's date, you know how if you wrote a paper right now, you would date it out. Instead of saying today's date on their paper, what they would do is identify who's ruling. All right. So in the first year of Belshazzar, king of the Babylon, Daniel had a dream. Go ahead.
And visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea.
Go ahead.
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
So the first beast he saw was a lion and it had eagle's wings. Okay, go ahead.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked,
And
it was lifted up from the earth,
keep reading.
and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear.
So this is a dream he having, and he looked at this. The first thing he saw was a lion with eagle's wings, and he looked at it till the wings was plucked off and it was lifted up from the earth. It was taken off the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man. So it's showing you something. It was a lion, but in his dream he was like that lion was made like to stand straight up, and the man's heart was given to it. So he letting you know this is not just some ordinary animal kingdom thing that he looking at, with some weird looking animals in his dream. Okay, so now he gets to the second beast. Go ahead, verse 5 again.
And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
So when we get to this next one, he was looking in his dream and he saw this bear with 3 ribs in his mouth, and this bear was told, Arise, eat much flesh. So what we're gonna learn is each one of these are representing, we're gonna see 2 more behind it, are representing the kingdom. This is what Daniel was being privileged to see in his dream. And each kingdom is a world dynasty, okay, that ruled this world, and it's taking us to, because what is going to happen is Daniel going to see enough to see that he going to see all the kingdoms, and when he gets to the last kingdom, then he going to see the Lord return in the midst or come back to destroy that kingdom. He going to see these in his dreams, and he wrote them out. Go ahead. What verse are we at?
6.
Go ahead. Verse 6.
After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly.
So now he's looking at this terrible beast. That's all he called it. He couldn't describe it. It was like, so this is nothing like he's seen before. A dreadful and terrible beast. Okay? Keep reading. Oh, he said it was strong and exceeding. What else? Go ahead. I'm sorry. The middle of 7.
And it had great iron teeth.
Right, he got iron teeth.
It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
He said this one was different than all the rest of them. All right, and it is a reason why he different from all the rest of them. All right, keep reading.
And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What verse are we at? Did you keep moving up? All right. Let's see how far we're going down. Okay, keep going. Yup.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns, plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things.
All right, so this is all a dream that he having. But pay attention, and he said he saw 10 horns on this, but this out of the 10 horns, 1 horn arose, and this horn was really a man, and it removed 3 of the 10 horns. All right, so ultimately this joint gonna have 7 horns. All right, and all this gonna be relevant later. Okay, but this 1 horn removed 3 that made 7 horns, but initially it had 10 horns, terrible beast, iron teeth, strong, different than all the rest. Okay, so you got to imagine he got these horns coming out, then 1 horn basically turned into a man. This is a weird dream he had. I mean, I would have been waking up too, like, Jesus, what the heck we just saw. All right, so he said, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. So I'm gonna just tell you straight up, and I learned to start doing this. So this little horn is from this, because each one of these are representing kingdoms, and we're gonna see that. This is Babylon. This is your Medes and Persians. The leopard is your Greeks with the 4 heads, because Later on, we discuss that, but they end up having 4 generals that rule over the Greek Empire, set it up in 4 parts. Then this terrible one, this is Rome. And then Rome, all this stuff is discussing its kingdoms. Because Rome going to be here to the very end. We'll talk about that. And this one little horn actually is going to be this abomination of desolation, or what we like to call the Antichrist. Okay, so I know I'm jumping the gun, but we're going to explain it more as we go. But I think sometime it helped for me to tell you where we're going, so as we get in there, you can kind of see how it's piecing itself together, as opposed to you having to go and watch the class over again to get it, to get it the second go round. All right. So what verse are we at, bro?
Verse 9.
All right, go ahead, verse 9.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
Notice how he called it, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. Because each one of these were kingdoms with thrones. He said, I watched it until the thrones were cast down in the Ancient of Days. Now that Ancient of Days is Jesus. So he watched all this until he saw the Ancient of Days come. Yeah, whatever, Jay. And this Ancient of Days is Jesus. So he watched till Jesus came and it said, I beheld till the thrones were cast down and the Ancient of Days did sit. And watch out here. Go ahead. You finish that verse for me.
Whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
Right. Okay. Now let's skip down to verse 17. You're going to start doing some explaining of some of this stuff.
These great beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever. Right.
So when you look at it, he's saying, well, the saints of the Most High are going to possess the kingdom. These are kingdoms, but the saints going to possess them. When, though? And like, I'm sorry. And like when you look at in Acts chapter 1, when Jesus was leaving, he was like, are we now going to get the kingdom? Like, just think they thought they was these saints. They understood this part of the prophecy to an extent that we going to take the kingdom from them. And when Jesus was here, we were in the Roman time period. So you could very well think, shoot, now is the time. That's why, and this ain't nothing that you read, but I often wonder what was Judas really thinking. We look at Judas and he's the bad guy, and he is, call him son of perdition. And he was about that money. So, sold his soul for a couple bucks. But, this dude was walking with Jesus. And he got power. Judas had power when they said the 70 went out. I often wonder, was Judas really thinking like, all right, Jesus is going to take over when we get here? You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to capture him. And, I'm just playing my role. Because Judas is the one that asked, like, who going to betray you? Or he was sitting right there and they was like, whoever dipping they bread cup or dipping in the cup with me. And Judas like, is it me? As if he really don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so it made me just wonder sometime because of what they was really on. It was like these was young boys and a part of a revolution. Like the Romans was running around. The Romans was ruling us and we wasn't really supposed to have anybody ruling us. You know what I'm saying? Like when we was in the days of our own kings, which Jesus come from the tribe of Judah, which is the king tribe. He's supposed to be the king. So I often wonder, and then it makes me really wonder, so then Judas going to commit suicide. Like after he see, like, okay, this didn't go how I thought. Now, I mean, not excusing his actions. I'm just saying, it just makes you wonder, because you went in, like you didn't know that they was going to do this to him, why you going to kill yourself? You know what I'm saying? So it just makes you wonder. But the whole point is, even in their day, they thought we was in that Roman Empire, like, okay, this can go down now. But things had to take place, though. And that's what we're going to learn today. And that's what Jesus was telling them in Matthew 24. He was like, man, you got to see the abomination of desolation. Then he was like, and then we got to have this great tribulation go down. See, none of that stuff took place in their day. Okay? What verse are we at?
Middle of 18.
All right, go ahead and pick that up for me in the middle of 18, please. Well, just start at 18. Just start at verse 18.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
Go ahead.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose lip was more stout than his fellow.
Go ahead.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them.
So he's saying, out of the 10 horns that he understanding all this. That's what he's saying. But out of the 10 horns, that one horn, notice what he's saying. He said, well, he the same one that plucked up 3 horns. Then he said, and he went and made war with the saints, right? And prevailed. He said, and I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So we got to understand this horn, but really don't confuse yourself. It's the Antichrist. It's just a man that come from this dynasty or this kingdom, okay? And we're going to clear it up the more we go. The whole lesson going to kind of like just layer on top of each other. You know what I mean? It's not like we, like pretty much everything centralizes off of what we're reading about right now. And we're going to piece upon each aspect of these kingdoms. Or we might take them in, and when we get to Revelation 13, we're going to take them and understand based off of what we see. Oh, this is talking about this same dynasty. Okay? So this is kind of like our foundation for today's lesson. Okay? What verse are we at?
22.
All right, until the ancient. Okay, so I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. For how long? Go ahead.
Until the Ancient of Days came. And judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it into pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings.
Right, so these horns was 10 kings. Okay, keep going.
10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them.
Right, so we pulled this other one horn out. Another shall rise after them. Go ahead.
And he shall be diverse from the first. And he shall subdue 3 kings.
Right. Keep reading, I think. What verse? Yeah, go ahead, keep reading.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
So when you look at verse 25, and for those of us that mess with our Bibles and highlight and do all that kind of stuff, when you get to verse 25, that's the abomination of desolation as well. That's what that's speaking about right there, okay? Keep going.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Right.
So he said, and the kingdom is going to be given over to this little horn or this abominable man for a time, times, and the dividing of time. So one day I took the liberty of looking it up, and I got one of them unabridged dictionaries. A couple of them actually, they're pretty thick. And what an unabridged dictionary is, it's supposed to give you all the definitions of the word. A lot of times what a dictionary would do is it would give you the first definition is the newer, and it's going to take you all the way to the original. Like, for example, this kind of off the subject, but it's related to the Bible. Does anybody know the definition of smart? Can somebody tell me the definition of smart? S-M-A-R-T. Nobody? Huh? Say that again, sis?
Fearing the Lord.
Fearing the Lord. That's smart. That would be a smart thing to do. That would, huh? Well learned. All right. So that's what we think of as smart. But the reality is, and that is the definition. If you look it up right now and you look up on your phone, smart, that's probably about what you're going to see is well learned or something to that effect, or educated or something. But through the course of time, we took it there. Originally, that word meant to suffer. Right, to suffer. And when you look in Proverbs, it has a parable in there, something to the effect of, if you do something, you were smart for it. I can't remember exactly what it is, but you'll see that word means suffer. So at any rate, so when you look at a dictionary, just like I will give you another word that you might can familiarize yourself with a little better. Google. So when you look up the word Google right now, especially if you Google the word Google, it's going to probably say a search engine, which is accurate. But when I was 12 years old, my math teacher had the number 1 with 100 zeros running across the board. That was, you know how you go to class and your teachers have different stuff related to the subject. He was like, this is called a Google. And that's what I understood Google to be until all of a sudden we took that same word and made it something else. And I can get why they used that particular word for the search engine. I can get it because a Google is really 1 with 100 zeros behind it. So if you were to look it up in the dictionary, the first one you may see is Google, the search engine. But if you keep going, you're going to see the 1 with 100 zeros. So same thing for the word smart. Now, why am I saying all that? Because it said time. So when you look up time, and you may have to use a good dictionary, but it just means a year. So what it said in verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints. We're talking about the Antichrist of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand, and a time, times, and a dividing of time. So basically what it just did was a time is 1 year, times is 2 years, so that's a total of 3 years, and a dividing or a half a time, 3.5 years. See, the reason I went through that whole little story to show you what time is and how, because we didn't really like look it up in the dictionary because we didn't bring a big boy dictionary, is because when I heard this whole lesson for the first time, I had to go back and do all the research on my own. That's the type of person I am. So when I heard Brother Boo, because I think I heard him do it before I heard Elijah, say, well, you know, a time, this ain't nothing but 3.5 years. Like he said it like I'm just supposed to know. And I'm like, that ain't what time mean to me. So, you know, I'm the kind of guy that went and then make it so that's how I started learning about the dictionary. I went and I'm like, my dictionary don't say nothing. But I did not believe him though. I was like, man, I gotta go get me a better dictionary. You know what I'm saying? Because he was gonna really have to be lying for me not to believe him. I mean, honestly, because you know, like I'm learning all this other stuff from him. Why would he be lying about this? But I could not find it anywhere. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't make me say, and I'm giving you a point to that too, because I hear people all the time, they talk about with Brother Elijah especially. Yeah, man, your stuff's real tight except when you use the name Jesus. I'm like, man, hold on, you mean all the other stuff good, but all of a sudden, like how he get to good using the name Jesus? You got a problem with the name Jesus like that. So I mean, I'm just saying that my mentality was, nah, I'm taking everything else you got. I gotta go find it. Not, oh yeah, I can't find it, so he must be wrong. Those are two different mentalities that you wanna, you know, you don't wanna have that mentality. Like somebody better be wrong, and eventually you just like, hold on, man, I done exhausted all measures. I don't know where the heck he got this from. Let me go call him up. Because I done did that with brothers. Like, bro, where'd you get that from? Because I don't win to search hard. So at any rate, that's how I learned that time. That's how I learned that time really means a year. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Still own the dictionary to this day with it in there to make sure. So at any rate, this last dude here, that's what we was talking about. This last horn, he's going to ultimately rule for 3.5 years. And Daniel is being privy to all of this. That is the beauty of make it so bad in one dream. In one dream, you've been told the whole plan of God from the Gentile dynasty aspect. What verse are we at?
25.
All right, did you finish that one?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's go ahead over to Jeremiah 27 now. Jeremiah 27. So that's actually back to the left. If we take our time today, this shouldn't be a difficult comprehension of a lesson. Like it's like I'm gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. But it's all we talking about is kingdoms and who ruled when. Anybody seen that movie 300?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, that was during the Medo-Persian. And as a matter of fact, that was the Medes and the Persians fighting against the Greeks So that was this dynasty to this dynasty, but they was winning at first. I'm sorry. The Greeks. See, when you think of Greece is actually, going back to our map here, one little bitty island right up in here. Okay, Rome is a little island. Greece is a little island. I don't know, some of y'all might can't see this that well, but it's just a little island. But the empire of Greece consisted of more. So it was like Athens and it's all the little islands that was in there. Crete. Is what? Yeah, yes, Crete.
Athens is on there.
I'm sorry.
No, Athens is in mainland Greece.
Yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, but this little island right here.
It's Crete.
Crete, thank you. Nah, not that little island. See.
Lendos.
See, no, hold on. Yeah, Athens is on Greece as we see it, but these islands, this is too, like I see Macedonia, and all this is called Greece, but then Greece wasn't all of that.
No, they were city-state.
Right, exactly. So these is all of what made up Greece at the time. Like for example, all the different the Athens was the Athenians, all the matter of fact, when you look in Acts and you see Paul going throughout the Mediterranean area, even though Rome was ruling, most of those towns like Corinth, like Ephesus, most of these were still Greek names, because what the Romans did when they ruled, they let you keep whatever you had. They just said, you pay your taxes, send me some boys to fight. That's how the Romans ruled. Whereas most people, when they ruled, like when the Lord sent Israel in somewhere, he had you come in and destroy everything. The Romans was like, you keep what you got, just as long as you pay and send us some boys. So all these names that you actually see in the New Testament for these regions, short of Rome itself, are actually Greek cities. Okay, so let's go over here to Jeremiah 27 and let's pick this up a little bit. Verse 5. Long story short, this should be an easy one to follow. Just keep following, and if you get lost somewhere, just be like, I'm lost, and repeat that. I won't mind what our brother Shy. He over there asleep. You still recovering from last weekend?
I'm good.
Jeremiah 27 and 5. When you get there, go ahead.
I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. So
what he's telling them right here, I'm giving everything, and we're going to see that this is Nebuchadnezzar up here. But he said, I'm giving everything to Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. He's saying everything. Go ahead.
My servant and the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve him.
Keep going.
And all nations shall serve him, and his son, and his son's son.
So he's saying all nations are going to serve Neb and his son and his son's son. Like, so when it's saying all nations, it's taking, you would think it's saying like everybody that's on the planet then, but he's really saying all nations that trickle down from here. All right, all nations are going to serve Nebuchadnezzar and his son. All right, we just do it like that. All right. Did you finish that?
No.
Sorry, that's my alarm. You know what that alarm telling me? That we should be done. Every Saturday, because we usually would start at 2:30. So that alarm let me. I mean at 12:30. So that alarm saying, okay, that's 2 hours. Like you should be, you know what I mean? But like we got a long way to go. That's all right though, because it's not gonna be that hard. We're gonna get it. We're gonna learn, hopefully. So, and it should come to pass that the nations and kingdom that will not serve. Oh, I'm sorry, read verse 8. I didn't see that. I thought you read that. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord, with the sword and with famine and with pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
Now he's telling all this to the Israelites right here, really. Because what's going on is Nebuchadnezzar is going to be the one who takes the children of Israel and put them into captivity. Like when you get into the book of Chronicles, you'll see that, you know, it was written like, what was it? Who was the last king? Zedekiah, maybe? Not sure. But whoever the last king is, you watch him go into captivity under Nebuchadnezzar. And then the book of Daniel pick up with Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Daniel. They're under the captivity of Nebuchadnezzar. So Jeremiah is telling them, like, look, all nations going to serve whether you like it or not. All right, and that's going to be this lion here. But we're going to get more on that. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7 now. Let's go back to Daniel 7. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 and 8.
Chapter 7, 8?
Yeah, chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7 and 8. And when you get there, go ahead and read.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with its feet, with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
So the reason we're going back to this is because now we're going to go to Daniel chapter 8. And we're going to actually pick up and get more detail. Because again, this little horn, see the significance of this little horn is he's the ruler when the coming of the Lord, or during this Armageddon period. He will be the ruler of the kingdom. That's the reason why it's important for us to identify and make sure we capture who this guy is, more to a science. But so that's why we come back here. So at verse 8, he said, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in his horn were the eyes of a man, and the mouth speaking great things. So let's go to chapter 8, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Daniel chapter 8 and 1. So we're doing all this. So because when we get to Revelation 13, we're going to put this all together a little bit as we take it to the end. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Just real quick. You said the 7 horns was all that's Rome, though, right? And then
Yes.
somebody over.
This is all Rome over here.
And then there's one person on the side that's ruling.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's going to be ruling at the end.
Oh.
Yep. So what he did was, when he initially saw this terrible beast, it had 10 horns. And these 10 horns represents kingdoms. But it's saying that this one horn here plucked up 3 of the 10 horns, which actually, from my understanding, he plucked up those 3 horns was the Ostrogoths, the Herolines, and the Vandals. 3 nations that between the fall of Rome, 3 barbarian nations came in and tried to like take over Rome, and then but they were barbarian nations. Yeah. And this dude here is of a religion. So he kind of like countered that, and then the other nations, the other kings actually.
Isn't that Europe? Right there?
Yes.
The 7 horns is.
Yes, but all even when those 3 came in, with the other 7 though is a representation of people that led the Holy Roman Empire: Charlemagne, Charles V, Otto the Great, Justinian, Mussolini, Napoleon, and then one yet to come. Okay, but we'll get there a little later when we get to Revelation 17, actually. So we're getting close to it. So that's what this is, though. Yeah, this would be Rome, which would take us to Europe. Okay. So Daniel chapter 8, and let's pick it up at verse 1. Daniel 8 and 1, and when you get there, go ahead and read.
In the 3rd year of the reign of the king Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel. after that which appeared unto me at the first.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw, that I was at Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
So now he's looking and he see a ram with 2 horns, and one horn was higher than another. Just trying to see what this is on here. So we'll go to the back of the board. Go ahead, you can read a little more while I get this together.
I saw the ram pushing westward, and northward, and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand.
Right.
But he did according to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face.
So we just gonna act like this the ram, but he got 2 horns right here. Hey, I don't see y'all up here. I should say that because somebody come up here and do all this for me, huh? So we got another one, right? And he got 1 horn coming out, okay? We ain't even talking about my drawing. So we got 1 with 2. And the reason that I try to draw it is because some people are visual learners better than just see me. I can see all this in my head. I don't have to draw it. I mean, because at the time you do it so much, you just know. So he said, and I saw the vision came. Thank you. He said, then I looked up, my eyes saw him in verse 3. Behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. So that's what I tried to draw here. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. Right, because this is actually a representation of a kingdom. And this higher one is actually going to be the Mede, and this is going to actually be Persia, and this is actually going to be Greece. All right, so that's what's going on, and he about to come and thrash that one. So he said, and I saw, verse 4, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. So the ram was this one, right? Right, this was the ram, right? And this was the he-goat, or am I wrong? Hold on, let me double check this here. There stood a man, and he had 2 horns, and the horns were one higher, and I saw the ram pushing westward. All right. You said that now?
It's the ram.
Okay. All right, so. Okay, well, okay, go ahead. We're going to keep reading. We're going to act like we ain't putting nothing up there for now. Because I don't want to confuse y'all. All right, so keep reading.
Verse 4.
Uh-huh.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will, and became great.
Uh-huh.
And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
Okay, keep going.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes.
Uh-huh.
And he came to the ram and had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river.
All right, so this is what's going on when you look at verse. Matter of fact, so we could cheat a little bit. Let's jump over here to verse 20 and read verse 20. We're gonna come back, but read verse 20.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
Uh-huh.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
Okay.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
All right, so that's us cheating. So this is the Medes and the Persians, and this is the Greeks. So going back to Daniel chapter 8, when he said, I saw the ram, verse 4, I'm sorry, when he saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that it might have no beast might stand before him. So what he's saying is, when you look at this map, the Medo-Persian Empire starts off over in this area. Yeah, well, something like that. Starts off in this area. And it pushed westward. So when you go and you look into history books, you find out that this is the part Turkey, but this is the part that the Medes and the Persians ruled. Now the Greeks come from the west though, of where their headquarters is. So as we look in here, it said, verse 5, and as I considered, behold, and the goat came, which from the west, on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn. So this goat coming through, like basically he coming through fierce. That's why they like he ain't touching the ground. This goat is actually a representation of Greece, and Greece's first ruler is Alexander the Great. Anybody saw that movie? Well, this dude ruled. He ruled. His daddy is Philip the Macedonian, but he come. The Medes and the Persians is here. Really, Babylon is what they all got, which is here. So he come from here, and he start ruling this way. And he take you all the way. He don't get into China, but he gets you all the way into India. And this is what we know as the known world. Okay? And the reason I say the known world, I do understand that China's there and that they exist. But that's the other half. And we'll discuss that as that's what Armageddon is about. Armageddon is about this part of the world fighting this part of the world. So that's why it's a reason why he gets this far over and then he has to stop. Okay? So this is what this next one is here. Alexander the Great coming through. What verse was that, bro? Do you know?
Yeah, 6.
6, thank you. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in fury and with his power. Go ahead, verse 7.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Man, you read real good. I just want to tell you that I think that CH sound is the hard C sound. Kohler. But you're doing great, trust me. Keep reading, verse 8.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. And for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. All right, so
he smashed him. He smashed the Medes and the Persians. The reason I asked that y'all see that Alexander the Great movie is because you see it well in that movie. But what happens is he smashes the Medes and the Persians, but this Alexander the Great, son of Philip of Macedonia, dies at an early age, 32, I think, 33. And his government gets split into 4. All right. To kind of put it on the map, his government gets split kind of like this. Here and I want to say here, something like that. But what happened? So basically, you got one of the generals. His government gets split into 4. One of his generals gonna get this land. One of them gonna get this. One of them gonna get Egypt, I know, and then one of them gonna get this part. And the name of his generals were Cassandra, Ptolemy, Seleucus. Huh? Say that one again. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's the 4. And the reason I say them, number one is because we're recording. So if you watch it, then you able to go back, pause it, do your homework, or if you're taking notes, you know what I mean? But that's why, so that you can, I'm putting them out there, even though we're not going to that, because this could be like, just imagine this was an hour course. This could be like a whole week course, honestly. But anyway, so this is what's happening to his the ram. The he-goat. It breaks up into 4 different parts of the United States, of the known world at that time. Okay, keep reading. And tell us what verse we at. I'm sorry.
Verse 9.
All right, so start at 9 again, please.
And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south.
So what's happening is, out of the 4 generals came a little horn that's going to wax exceeding great. Okay, because basically one of these, out of the four generals, one of the dynasties Rome gonna come. That's what we getting at. Okay, go ahead, keep reading.
And toward the east, and toward the pleasant land, and it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts.
So notice what it just said. It said that it went toward the south because it was coming from here, and toward the east. This is going eastward. So this is where, oh good, that's that eraser joint. So this is where he came from, and basically he gonna rule everything. This is where that little horn came from. Okay. What verse are we at?
Verse 10.
All right, go ahead.
And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and it stamped upon them.
Keep going.
Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down.
So we're talking about this little horn, which really we're talking about a man, which in this case we're talking about the Antichrist, or the abomination of desolation. So it says, out of them, I'm at 9, came forth the little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land, Jerusalem being the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself, verse 11, to the prince of hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down. So this dude, now we done took him all the way to the future, believe it or not, when they say the daily sacrifice is going to take away. So this is part of the reason why we're dealing with this lesson today. Over the last few weeks or so, it's been resurfacing about this red heifer. I think he about to be 2 years old this year, and that's the age that you can sacrifice him at. So make sure I don't want. So with that being said, what's going on is the Edomites, the so-called Jew, their idea is, okay, according to the Bible and according to their understanding of the Bible in Ezekiel, they got to be back in the land before the coming of the Messiah. And they are in the land, so they say. And now what they're saying is, we need to start sacrificing. And in order to sacrifice, they're going to need a red heifer. Y'all know what a heifer is? Yeah. I ain't know that when I was coming up. I just heard, you heifer. Yeah, I ain't know that's what it was. Yeah, like color purple. I was like, oh, you heifer? Like, oh, okay. So later on, I'm like, oh, really? A cow? Like, female, I think, though. So, yeah. All right. So, but it's red though. I seen the picture, Photoshop, but I guess it's really red. But they need this red heifer to sacrifice. Now, it says here in the Bible for them to start the sacrificing like the priests did in the Bible. Now it says here in the Bible that this dude was going to take away the daily sacrifice. So this little horn that's coming from Rome, this one that magnify himself above all, what's going to happen is he's going to say, see, the purpose of a sacrifice is, I have sinned, I have done wrong. Here's the shedding of blood to remit my sins. That's the purpose of a sacrifice. Okay? And without the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Like we read that in the scripture somewhere. So this guy gonna come along and say, hey, whoa. I'm the guy that y'all need to be hollering at. Like, you sacrificing to somebody you can't see. I'm right here. So he gonna shut that whole organization down. That's what starts the Great Tribulation and his rulership. Because that's a bold statement on this planet. He gonna basically say, I'm God. I'm boss. And now all of a sudden it's gonna force his hand to move to another direction. Never since we seen in history, when you look at Rome, since it fell, never did the bishop of Rome rule the kingdom. Now, he might have hustled inside the kingdom to rule it. If you understand what I mean by that, like Spanish Inquisitions, like the Holy Crusades, but there was still some king, some figurehead there. But now this dude gonna put himself in a position to say, "I'm boss."
You talking about the Pope?
Yes, the Pope or the Antichrist. But yes, I'm definitely talking about the Pope. And that's a good question that you asked, because that's what I mean. Meaning, he's gonna be the one that comes in and stop it, the sacrificing, and never throughout history. See, when you go to school, you go to high school, you go to college, and you begin to learn world history, really what the world history you're going to learn is really European history. And their, the way they, their effect on the rest of the world. And like when you learn about the serf systems and the caste system that they got in Europe, the serfs and the knights and all, that's all from them, but that stems from the king and the church. One of the things you're going to learn when you're in school, or you may have learned, is there's a separation between church and state, especially here. That this nation here was basically established off of that separation, because over there, that separation was always cloudy. Because the king was supposed to be over the people, but you know what the Pope was over? He was over your soul. He was over your afterlife. And he'll use that. That's why you got writings and movies like Dante's Inferno. Things like The Pit and the Pendulum. Just showing you stuff about the Inquisitions, and then showing you stuff about what hell is from the church perspective. But it played out, it was given to all because the king had to take it. Okay? That's why Britain don't be hearing none of that, because they wasn't bound down to that none. That's a whole nother story. That's how we got this. Thanks to England. So at any rate,
King James.
Yep, King James. Yeah, he magnified himself, verse 11, talking about the Pope or the Antichrist. Yeah, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Verse 12.
And a host was given unto him.
Oh, an army. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No. It say host. I'm saying that's what host is, an army. Go ahead.
And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression. And it cast down the truth to the ground. And it practiced and prospered.
So this dude gonna cast down the truth to the ground. He's gonna practice like witchcraft practice, and prospered. So this is all of what this dude, this Antichrist or this Pope is gonna do here. Okay. So now let's jump over to verse 17. And all this came out from this he-goat. Because remember, we split this he-goat, because this he-goat died early, and we split his kingdom into 4. And the part of the kingdom that was Rome's part, it bigged up, and it conquered from the east. It conquered traveling south and east. Which, when we looked on our map, it came from here, and it conquered from south to east. Okay. What verse are we at? Yes, pick it up at 17. When you get there, go ahead.
So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now as he was...
So all of that is to show you the end. He said, like, the time of the end is when the vision gonna come into play. All right, go ahead. What verse are we at?
It's 18.
All right. Now I was speaking unto me, I was deep in my sleep, and he said, Behold. Yeah, okay. So that's something that we need to know, that this vision is for the end. Keep reading.
Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation. For at the time appointed the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia.
Go ahead.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Right, and the 4 generals weren't as powerful as Alexander the Great, because he conquered. Whereas they just took something that somebody had given them. They basically just stood in the gap for a little while. And that's what's going to cause Rome to rise up.
They're still arguing with each other.
Exactly, they are. Because they going, and then we talking about, when you say they, we're not even talking about the 4 generals after a while. We talking about once they pass, and you know, like it's the kingdom done got big. The kingdom is this big. This how big the kingdom is, and it's ruled by 4 people, and it's like they arguing. The Egyptian, the person who ruling over Egypt, arguing with them, and eventually one gonna come out of that, the one that was ruling here, and he gonna come and conquer and take all of this. All right, that's what's gonna start the dynasty or the empire that we know as Rome. Okay, with Julius Caesar and you know Mark Antony, all that kind of stuff. What verse are we at?
23.
All right, what time is it on that? On there? No, I'm saying what time? How much time have we been running? Did you see that on there? Oh, okay. All right. Cause I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna try to get as much done as possible, but I'm gonna try not to go over 3 hours. That's what I'm gonna try not to do. So if I start saying we going there, maybe I'll cut it up a little bit. Like last time I did, I had to cut, but I ain't like where I cut it. So anyway, let's keep going. What verse?
23.
All right, read that.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
So this that Antichrist again, verse 23. And in the latter times of their kingdom of Rome, shall a transgressor come to full, that a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences stand up, and his power shall be mighty. Go ahead and finish that verse or read that part.
But not by his own power.
Right, he getting power from Satan, not by his own power.
Right.
Okay, keep reading.
And he shall destroy wonderfully,
and
shall prosper, and practice,
yes sir,
and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
Right, he gonna be destroying the people of God when he come in play. Keep reading.
And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
And
he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many.
Keep reading.
He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
But notice what he said. He gonna stand up against the prince of princes. So this dude gonna be here to the very end. And it says, but he will be broken without hand. And later on, as we see, we're gonna see that, you know, the Lord gonna destroy him. It say by the spirit of his mouth. So he ain't even gotta touch this dude when he come back. He's just gonna say, die. All this power you had, that's just gonna show you how much. So when the Lord come back and you plot, plan, and strategizing, when the actual battle take place, it's gonna be like, dang, bro, this dude didn't even have to do nothing to fight you. I mean, y'all been sitting down here, you know, we gonna do this, and you've been showing out like you this major boss on this planet, and then all of a sudden this guy here like, man, die. And you just did. I mean, really, he ain't even gonna say die. Really, he gonna throw you in like a fire. That's even uglier. You know what I mean? That's even uglier. So he said, but remember, this dude don't have power of himself. And through his policy, verse 25, he should cause craft and prosper in his hand, and he should magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Right, because he coming in peaceful. He's the Pope. That's what popes do. Like, popes don't come in there. You don't see the Pope geared up with an AK in his side. You ain't never see, you know, like how we see the head of the Black Panthers, and we always see them. They probably got a gun sitting right there. You know, you see any of these military leaders, you know, they showing them with some, you know, they show the Korean governor, you know, or king or whatever. You know, it's not. He don't look nice. This dude coming in here with peace. He coming in here wearing a bishop's crown. That's what he's wearing. But really, but it says, and by peace shall destroy many. Go ahead.
He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
That's good. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. So Revelation 13 gonna start putting it together. Revelation chapter 13.
Hour and 20 minutes.
That's how far we in? Oh, okay. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Hour and 20 minutes, yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, you're right. But we got time. I can really do this in an hour, but I'm trying not to move that fast. So I'm trying to make sure that we stay here in the arena of what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And that we able to follow it well. Because it's not a difficult subject. The problem is sometimes some of us don't get the historic, that we don't follow the history part. Like we don't see history to me is like a time. It's like a line, and you can place everything that ever happened somewhere on this line. So if that being said, and we did it like this, now watch this. Let me show y'all something. Noah is right here at about 2,000 years. Jesus is right here, and he had about, we're going to say 2,000, this is us now, 2019. So we're going to say at about 4,000 years, something like that. I think I'm doing that wrong.
2,000.
Nah, I know what I'm doing. I mean, when I say I know what I'm doing, I know I'm missing something. That's what I'm missing. That's what I'm missing.
BC and AD.
Yeah, so here go the AC/DC line, or AC and BC, yeah, or AD, yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, and Jesus is right by it. Okay, so he about 2,000 years ago. Noah, when I put 2,000 for Noah, I'm talking about 2,000 from Adam. I'm saying from the beginning. He about 2,000. Adam lived to be about 900 some years old. All right. So with all that being said, your Babylon is here. The Greeks is here. Oh, I'm sorry. The Medes and the Persians is here. The Greeks is here. Rome is here. And Rome take you all the way. Rome falls somewhere here. And the Holy Roman Empire, let's say America's here. That's kind of how I see history. I know you're like, what the heck did he just do? but honestly, this is how David is somewhere here. Moses is somewhere here. But I see it all, and everything that we do and discuss, it just fit here from Adam and Noah and Jesus and Babylon, Medes and Persians, the Greeks, Holy Roman Empire. This is your Spanish Inquisition time period. This your Crusade periods. You know what I'm saying? And like this stuff would kind of be like this would be America. So this would be like around 16, really from 1600 to about 1800, somewhere here, because the Holy Roman Empire kind of run you into America. Like when America started, it's still kind of like it's the end of the Holy Roman Empire. So, and what I mean by that is if you was to Google Holy Roman Empire, you're going to start finding kings that take you out of the Roman Empire and bring you all the way into your French Revolutionary Wars. And, you know, like the French Revolutionary War start near the time that America starts. Okay, but these are all just different things that you're gonna cover in history. That's the reason why I'm bringing them out. Is because I just remember talking about the French Revolutionary War in the history class. It's not that I peeped that out or the Spanish Inquisition. That's stuff we talked about in our history class. So I'm just trying to show you, number one, that our history class was Holy Roman Empire based. And number two, that you don't have to be like super scholarly to comprehend this. No. You just would have to stay awoke in your history class. Now, if your history teacher was boring, then it might not have worked. But I mean, I'm just trying to show you that stuff, it all fit in the same timeline, okay? So now we're going to take this to Revelation 13. What Revelation 13 is going to do is going to merge all this stuff from here with what we saw in Daniel, put them together, and give you one whole dynasty so you can see it more clearly. All right, so pick it up, Revelation 13:1. And when you get there, go ahead.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
So now this John. And John say he stood up on the sand of the sea, and he going to see a beast come out of the sea. Now the sea is actually a representation of the peoples here. So he's going to say, I saw a beast come up out of the people. And what did this beast have? How did he identify it? Go ahead.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So notice what he said here. He said this beast had 10 horns. We saw this somewhere. And it has 7 heads. We'll cover that, but keep going. Well, actually, 7 heads. 1, 2, 6, 7. Because this is 4 heads. That leopard had 4 heads. So this beast had 10 horns and 7 heads. 4 right there, not 1 head. 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, keep going.
And upon his horns 10 crowns. And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
So we got to notice what it's doing, because see, this is about 700, 800 years after Daniel that John is having this dream. So notice what he's doing. He's bringing you back to Daniel to relate, so that when we ready to put it together, we can comprehend the two. All right. So he says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, his mouth of a lion. And then it said the dragon, it didn't throw that terrible in there. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. Now, when you say this dragon, read Revelations 12:9 real quick. I'm going to show you who this dragon is. Because we in chapter 13, he had just discussed this dragon in the chapter prior. Read that one verse.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world.
So he's saying Satan gave him his power. This is what it's showing you. He just called it the dragon, but he had just discussed the dragon the chapter prior. All right. So go back to Revelation 13 and verse 3. When you get there, go ahead.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed.
So now he said, and I saw one of his heads. Y'all funny, as it was wounded to death. Okay, so I'm coming in the word 1997. This is when this time period is 96, 97. I'm in college, and I actually got world history. And world history in college is different. It's different from world history in high school, but it's actually fun if you got a good professor and you like history. It's like watching TV to me. So one of the questions I asked my history teacher is, because we talking about right now at the time period, we're around 1000 AD, around the Crusade time periods. So really, Europe is still kind of in what they call the Dark Age. Okay. And so I asked my professor, I say, will Rome ever come back to power? Now this is why I'm learning this. So I just sat here and heard Bowie say the night before when I'm studying that Rome coming back. And my professor said, no. Now I get it though. See, Rome was Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar, and that was Rome, and that got destroyed. That Senate, all of that stuff got destroyed. But what my professor didn't comprehend is these other men ruled in honor of the Holy Roman Empire. That is Rome. And then, and these men, when they ruled that way, it was two entities that made up Rome. It was the king of Rome, or the king or ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. And sometimes, like for example, you might have ruled out of France and ruled the Holy Roman Empire. Or you might have ruled out of Germany and ruled or at that time it was called Prussia, and ruled the Holy Roman Empire. Like, so it wasn't like you was ruling from the same location, calling it the Holy Roman Empire. What it was, you was saying that you was ruling the empire of Rome, and God gave you that rulership. That's what you was saying, these different kings. So yeah, you right, Professor. Rome ain't coming back ever again, but it has returned in a different way. And now Rome's still on the scene, because you got something called the Catholic Church, and it derived from Rome, and it has been there the whole ride. Okay, so why did I just go through that whole thing? Because it said, verse 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. So it's describing this beast here. And we discussed that. Then verse 3, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. So it had 7 heads, but the head was wounded. Well, Rome was wounded. Like Rome fell. Then it said, as they were wounded to death, then it said that his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered or followed after this beast that he saw. This is John looking at it. So he like, everybody start wondering behind this beast. Go ahead, verse 4.
And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
Satan gave him his power, and they worshiping the dragon that gave power to this dynasty. See, that's one of the greatest mysteries that people not comprehending, is that the world we live in is powered by Satan. You read in other places say Satan, that he's the king of the power of the air. I think that's in Ephesians. Like, so, I mean, he controlling your TV. He control your radio. He control the internet. You know what I mean? Like he's and then in another place it just say he's straight up the king of this world. I think that's in Corinthians. He's just straight up the king of this world. So when you look in here and it's saying that this dude is getting his power from that dragon, that's what a lot of people miss, is that this world is controlled by and ran by Satan. Come on, like it gotta be what's that called? Manifest destiny. Ain't that the term they used when they came over here and just stole up all this land? That's only a term that the devil gonna use to say it's right to do what you just did. You came over here and you came over here act like this was Antarctica or something. Like it was people living here. You know, and just because they ain't had no gun and you did, you know what I mean? It was just that simple. You just walked over here and debulked their land.
That is everywhere.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
Everywhere.
It said it's our manifest destiny. Yeah, like just give me that. That's crazy. But that's because this is the devil's world. Only in the devil's world do you get away with that. Okay. So and they worship the dragon, verse 4, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him, right? That's how they took this country. Who can make war with these people over here? Keep reading, verse 5.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
Right, so now here go that 3.5 years again. It's saying that power was given, and notice some of the similarities of what we keep saying or seeing. Like somebody coming up, he's speaking against God. Like it said, and there was given unto him in his mouth to speak great things and blasphemy, and power was given for him to continue 42 months. So this beast gonna run for 42 months. That's 12 plus 12, that's 24, plus 12 more, that's 36. These are years. That's 3 years, and then 36 plus 6, that's a half a year. That's the same thing as this 3.5 years, which is the time period of this great tribulation. This is how long this Antichrist gonna rule. 42 months. Mm-hmm. All right. What verse are we at now? 6. Okay, go ahead. Keep reading.
And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God,
Mm-hmm.
to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names were not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
There's something else I like to pay attention to in here. That, you know, the Lord got a book of life, and he said that the Lamb was slain at the foundation of the world. Like, that means when God said, let there be light, that the foundation of the world, the plan was already in play that Jesus was going to be killed. All right. Keep reading.
If any man have a
I'm sorry. Skip down to verse 11, I think. Yeah, 11.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
So now he's still watching. He's still having this vision, and he said he beheld another beast coming out of the earth, because when we discussed this as a nation. He saw all of this put into one. And this whole nation is going to back up. He's going to back up an individual. So now we're going to get onto the individual per se. So he said, I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Now notice it said he had horns like a lamb. Now Jesus is the lamb. So really what we got going on is this dude is coming with and like Jesus. Keep reading.
And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him.
So he exercised all the power of what we saw at the beginning of this chapter. And he got the power of this dynasty or this rulership. All right, go ahead, keep reading.
And causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Keep reading.
And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Right, so now we see at this, because now we went from looking at the big picture to now we narrowing it down precisely to an individual, and this individual has power to make fire come down out of heaven, okay, onto the earth. So he got real power. He just ain't no computer generated, CGI type stuff, or this ain't no vision, no make believe, some Photoshop powers, right? Illusions. Like, no, this dude gonna have power over the elements given to him by Satan the devil. That's why I don't. We had a question come up in Bible study a couple weeks ago about, do you believe that when people be on this, some people get real deep into the astrology and stuff. Do you believe that can have some type of accuracy to it? And I'm like, look, I can't deny that Satan has given people power. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just not going to just say, well, nah. Now I know, when I go read Virgo mean this, you know what I mean? Like, I know that's just dumb. You know what I'm saying? But, when you start messing with all that witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, ain't no telling what you got going, but yeah, you can have something going. Like, it's kind of like, is the voodoo doll real? Like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it ain't. If you can sit here and tell me, well, I remember when I was 7 and, you know what I'm saying, like, and you telling me a story and I'm not going to say, it's just like when somebody say, man, I saw an angel or I saw something. I'm not going to tell you ain't see what you thought you saw. Like, whether it was in your imagination or whether it was actually there, everybody else in the room could see, it still was a spirit though. So, and that's the thing, a lot of times we be acting like God or these other people, that Satan don't have witches and people out here with power. And that's a fallacy. They got it. And he's going to be the ultimate, this dude here. So he said, and I beheld another beast, verse 11, come out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great wonders, so that he make a fire come down from heaven out of the earth in the sight of men. Verse 14.
And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast.
Go ahead.
Saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So
this guy here gonna give power to this. They gonna make an image, like a statue, like they do in the book of Daniel, and the whole world gonna wonder at this beast, and they gonna try to make everybody bow down to this statue. The statue gonna have the ability to walk and talk. Now, I don't know. I've been trying to figure this one out for the life of me, what this is gonna actually be. But whatever it is, it's gonna be real enough to trick you. That's, what I'm saying? Like, because, I don't seen so much now. If I look outside right now and I seen the Statue of Liberty walking, I'm going to think somebody done rigged up some type of mechanical device. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to believe that was some powerful man. But this right here going to trick people. It's going to really have people thinking that this is something authentic. So, however that go down, it's going to be a sight to see. But go ahead. What verse are we at?
15.
All right.
And he had the power to give life unto the image of the beast.
Right. This image is gonna actually have life, and this man gonna have power to give life to that, to the point where it's gonna make you want to follow that. See, anybody giving out that ticket. Y'all seen the Star Wars movie? Mm-hmm. Y'all know the reason why Darth Vader turned into Darth Vader is because the person that he was following had the power to give life. So he thought. That's what make you follow. Like, that's why we do this. We do this because we believe in the man that's going to give life. We going to die. Your body going to be in the ground, dirt, and all of a sudden, he going to call your name and you going to resurrect and live forever. That's why we following this. Well, imagine if you see some man that make a statue turn into real life. Like, I mean, it'd be alive. Like, even we gonna awe at that. Like, yo, you seen that? I'm gonna be like, Dennis, bro. I mean, really? Is that really alive? You know what I'm saying? And the only thing holding us to what we own is that we deal with God, right? You know what I'm saying? Because other than that, we would be like, well, I mean, see, that's what we own right now. When I say that's what we own, I'm saying the whole world, that is the objective, is to learn how to give life, clone animals. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even when we cloning foods and stuff, like our objective is how do we create without, scientifically, how do we create? Not, through the biological sense, but how do I say nothing and give it life? Because you know what we're trying to be? God did that, right? God took dirt, which is nothing. You step on it and made it life. So that's what this dude able to do. So yeah, you're going to follow that. Not us, because we learning better. But that's something you're going to want to follow. You're going to be at all of that. What verse are we at? Verse 15. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many that as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Verse 16. Go ahead.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that has the mark. So
this Babylon that all nations are gonna serve is responsible for what we know as the mark of the beast, saying that you can't buy or sell via what they giving you, some mark that this Antichrist, this little horn, that's going to be here into the ancient of days till Jesus get back. He's going, if you don't have his mark, and some people are like, oh, well, it's the RFD chip and all that. Look, whatever it is at the time appointed that you got to have to buy or sell, that's what it is. So it ain't nothing now. Like, even if it's something that you took now, like, you got a job and they like, you got to wear some tag or something, I'm still not going to let them put nothing in my hand. I don't care. I just know better. But, you got to wear some tag, and then all of a sudden, that tag is good for the mark of the beast. Well, look, this is something you got to be consciously aware that you're doing. Like, for example, it ain't like we going to knock Sister Lisa out, and she wake up, and she get a chip in her hand, and now she done took the mark of the beast. Like that's not right. That is what this is about. It's about making the choice or decision. So he says, and he gave power to give life unto the image of the beast. I'm back at 15. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Verse 17.
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
666. That's where that come from. And if you really want to know, and we're not going to touch on it too much today, it comes 666 is the number of that man is Vicarious Philadelphia. And if you were to take that name, Vicarious Philadelphia is a title that the Pope wears in his crown. And that means in English, Vicar of Christ, or replacement of Christ. Vicarious Philadelphia. So if you were to Google it, and you were to take it in its Latin form, and you were to give value to each letter, that comes out to 666. This is the title that the Pope carries in his crown. But again, today ain't so much. We're not focusing on the Pope so much. But the reason that we're discussing him, Armageddon, again, is about the East meeting the West. And what I mean by that is, so what we've been learning thus far is we've been learning about Babylon. And Babylon pretty much starts off here in the middle of the earth, and pretty much its rulership is this aspect when it's all said and done. And this would be called the West. And over here, now I know we saw Alexander the Great and all them get over here, but really through the course of time, these people here, the Chinese, the Mongolians, the Russia, they struck back and took that stuff back. Okay? So that's why, and this here is the central point and of what the battle is all about. It's about who gonna rule this initial middle point of the earth. So what we learning about right now is the West, and the West starts off from here, and that's why we've been talking about the Antichrist. And this is Europe, and this is who we've been dealing with so far. Y'all follow me on that? So again, Armageddon is about the actual showdown. But Babylon is what ruled the world right now. Europe ruled the world right now. Been ruling it over the last 400 or 500 years, that really over the last 2,000 years. But when I say over the last 400 or 500 years that we know of as modern day world, they came down here and took all of Africa. Took all their precious metals, everything. They run this. Hey, we all over here in the Middle East. And we run this. The only thing we ain't been able to run is them. And them. Them the only play. Them the two players that they don't play no games. They try to step up. They try to walk up into Russia. Russia's so cold. They say we'll just They say we'll just burn our own place down. We'll come up into the mountains. See what you gonna do with that. Yeah, man, Russia, man. I got so much respect for Stalin and Lenin and all the czars of Russia. Like, they really are my favorite government. I mean, seriously, like I could play the history game. Like, I love the whole board. And when I look at Asia and I look at China cold, and they got a strong history, but don't nobody play with Russia though. I mean, and then Russia got its own like just natural. God set them up perfect. You know what I'm saying? Then they got Siberia that sit way up there. And it's populated. It ain't as populated as maybe Moscow, but at any rate, right? It's like you can't beat us, right? Like America, we sit way on the other side over here, and you got to get through a whole gap of water, even if you came from the back door. But shoot, they sitting amongst their enemies. And them folks been trying to go up in there year on top of year, and they get their heads split. All the great ones, Hitler, he tried to run up there, Napoleon, you know what I mean? Like all the ones, they make movies about these people. And the movie end when y'all go to Russia. So I'm like, yeah. So anyway, let's go to Revelation 17 now. Yeah, don't play no game. Like when I was in school and I was like, they did what? They burned down their capital? I'm like, yo, that's dope. I just thought that was a cool, like, yeah, that's a cool way to win. Like we don't need none of this. We gonna back up and let's see what you do with this. Yo, and then we'll attack. That's crazy. Right. Revelation chapter 17, talking about the art of war. And then that's a whole nother subject. China. Like, it's the reason why don't nobody go down there and rule them too. Because they got so many people down there. And they just jump on you 5-on-1. And they don't mind dying. Like, and that's the other side. Right, and that's the other side. So it's the East versus the West. That's what Armageddon is about. Because Europe still trying to rule the whole world. And Russia and China like, Korea, they with them. You know what I mean? Like, all that Asia, they like, you ain't running this. You see my man, Donald Trump say, yeah, we gonna tax y'all goods coming over here. Let's see how long that stuff lasts. Them Asians don't play no games. You start messing with their money, see what they gonna do. Revelation chapter 17. And let's pick it up in verse 1. Man, we American. We sell more.
He said Trump playing checkers, man. They playing chess.
He right though. That's what I'm saying. Like we in America, and we sitting here driving. Now Americans make cars. We sitting here driving more Korean and Japanese vehicles than American vehicles. And y'all think that y'all gonna tell them they can't put their stuff over here. You can play that game if you want to. Them folks they'll own California. Think they won't. They been wanting it. They already practically own my hometown. That's what they. That's funny. I grew up and I watched Detroit, and we was talking on the way here about the crack coming to the city. How the crack destroyed the city. Well, it destroyed the mess out of Detroit to the point where you might hit a block. Now you might hit 2 blocks, and there's only one house still standing. I'm talking about because we burned the rest of them down in Detroit. It just, you walking down sidewalk, field, there was somebody's house, and then you just still walking like that. And it used to be a flourishing neighborhood where it used to be houses on top of houses, and it's like literally we went from being like number 5 in population to like 13 or 14. Like it just dropped considerably. And but what happened is now we had Super Bowl in around 2006 or something. Yo, them Asians came in there, man. Talking about them Asians. They call, you know what they call the Asians? Investors. That's what they call them. Investors from California. That's what you call them. But they come in there, they bought up everything.
Now Detroit is booming.
Well, they're the downtown area, you know what I mean? Because the way the city is built, the downtown is the center point and everything spreads off. But all the residential part now is being purchased by these Asians. So whereas we was able to buy a house, no joke, $500. Yeah, I know, right? Should have bought more than one, huh? Yeah, but we was able to get, like, they was giving them away in Detroit. Now, man, that number going up. And this is my hometown. That number going up. And why? Because these Asians coming in here. And they buying up houses, they buying up land. You know what I mean? So, like I told my family, look, don't sell that stuff. Keep that stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what. But this ain't the only town. I remember you could buy houses in Buffalo, New York, like that. About 15 years ago, you could have, you could go up there and buy you a whole apartment for like less than 20 grand. I'm talking about the whole apartment for like less than. I know some people who did it actually. You know what I mean? And so if you missed that one, I'm sorry. But, hey, land is valuable, bro. Land is valuable. You know what I mean? Like, that's worth more than anything else around here. Yep. So at any rate, Revelation chapter 17, let's pick it up at verse 1.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So I love how he does this. Again, notice how he 7 heads and 10 horns. He's taking you back here again so that you can identify. So it said that this woman, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit on the scarlet-colored beast. And actually, this woman is Rome. It's the Roman church. And she's sitting on this Babylonian dynasty. And it said, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And what else was about this woman? Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written. So this is that woman. Look what she's named. Mystery. Babylon the Great.
So this is mystery, and the reason she's called mystery is because as much as you see this, you don't know who the heck this is. Mystery. Babylon the Great. What else?
The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Right, because this is really the Roman Catholic Church. That's who and what this is. And it is a mystery. Mystery. Babylon. Because it's funny. Anybody in here grew up Catholic? Right. I mean, and I wasn't going, Right, I wasn't gonna say none of us, if nobody. But here's the thing, though. That's what we're getting at. But being like you didn't see as we grew up, we didn't see Catholicism as being, especially in America, especially the way this country was created, as being dominant over here.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like now, but here's something that's funny though. Anybody look in the encyclopedia and look up your presidents, you ever notice they had a religion over there? Y'all know it was only like one Catholic one. John F. Kennedy.
They gave him hell for it too.
I know, right? They sure did. So, but the point we getting at is, but all these other, that's why I said the mother of harlots. All, like the Catholics, and don't get it twisted, we used to hoop at the Catholic Church all the time. Because they always had the basketball gym at their church. But it's because, they did things a certain way, but really, it said the mother of harlots because the Catholic Church, although minor it may have been in our mind, it was the mother of all these other churches. Like the Lutheran Church. Now see, I went to a Lutheran school for a year. So, I was exposed to Martin Luther, and I also had to learn German. It's funny how you go to a Lutheran, what the heck I live in America, what you got to learn German for? But the Lutheran Church, which is really the first church that spun off of the Catholic Church, was started by Martin Luther. The only thing he did was said something wrong with the Pope, but he took the whole doctrine with him. You see? And then that started what we call the Protestant movement. And all your Baptists, your Episcopalian, all these different faiths, which one you call out? Church of England, right? All of them spun off from this mother of harlots. That's why she's called mystery, Babylon the Great. It's a mystery that this right here, this one entity, still exists and has trickled down to the point where, like, here's an example of how she exists. So, in my family, my funerals are Baptist funerals or Methodist, because that is my family's. That's what they are. They Baptist or they Methodist. But notice that all the funerals we're having in my family a homegoing. And whoever it is, they're no longer with us. They're going home. And we take them up to heaven. Where did we get that from? We got that from this. See, it's a mystery that they still done trickled themselves down into our, and fabricated itself into our religion and our cultures. Right, exactly. So, again, it said mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, and she the abomination of earth. Because she done gave us all the evil that we got. So at any rate, now let's jump down to verse 7. When you get there, go ahead.
And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
Go ahead.
The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. He
said, look, the beast that you saw, it was, and it's gonna go, and it's gonna come out of the pit, and it's gonna go into perdition. So it's gonna go out and conquer over the world. Go ahead.
And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life, the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. So they saying when you look at this beast, it was because it was this, and it is not because none of this exists no more. Like where's Babylon and the Greeks and the Medes and the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans. So it said it was and it is not, but yet it still is because it comes under a mysterious or a new name. Go ahead. What verse? Verse 9.
All right. Do we read that? Yeah, we can read that. Go ahead.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth.
And let's skip down to verse 11.
And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition.
Keep going.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
Keep going.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Keep going.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them.
So that's the main thing I wanted to see, is that this beast keeps making war with the Lamb. Because you got to remember, the class, again, is Armageddon. All right, so I'll tell you what we're going to do, y'all. We're gonna do this for 15 more minutes. And wherever we at, we're going to stop. That's okay. How much more? You must ain't looked at your paper.
Seven right now.
Right. Talking about some how much more. And I don't want to teach it like that. I don't want to rush it.
It's good.
So what I will do,
Come back next week.
you got it. I'll readjust our schedule and I'll come back next week to make sure we finish it. You know what I mean? So, and that way I don't got to be in Philly for 3 weeks. They gonna love that. So at any rate, but go ahead. What verse are we at? Cause I don't want to rush it. That's what I don't want to do. I want to, man. It's like eating steak to me. Like,
We at 13.
I mean, if you just heard and put it in your mouth and just swallow it, you don't get to savor the flavor. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna rush to eat this. We're gonna take our time with it, and I see where we can stop it, where we can pick it back up, and it won't be a big problem. So, verse 13. Go ahead.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb.
So notice what's going on. It's saying that it's gonna make war with the Lamb. Talking about this beast will. Go ahead.
And the Lamb shall overcome them.
But at the same time, because Jesus that Lamb. But so this, remember, we started all of this by looking at 7 heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 10 horns. Like, this is all still the same thing that we seeing from Daniel. And if you remember, as we started the class, we said, well, what is the sign of your coming in the end of the world? He said the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Like, all of this that as we putting all the pieces together, we gonna finally, because man, we ain't even got the Revelation 6. Oh my God. So at any rate, because that's really when we get, by the time we get to Revelation 6, that's where we at the end. That's when we start to pick up the Armageddon aspect. We ain't even got there. We just been discussing Babylon. So let's go to Daniel chapter 2 now. Daniel chapter 2. That way we can eat for an hour and still have time to get some Q&A in.
We're gonna have a lot of questions next week, so we're gonna have this for study.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, y'all got a heads up on the lesson and everything for next week. Ain't that right, Brother David?
What'd you say?
Brother David, let me tell you, I laughed about you, and so as I do North Carolina too. I do not send my lesson, and let me tell you the real reason I don't. It's because the time I send my lesson to be the time, I said this on the way here, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to send him my lesson on a Friday night and get him to teach something totally different. So that's why I don't usually send it. Typically, right, because it really may change. Typically, I will take a picture of it once I print it. That's typically, you know what I'm saying? Once I print it, then, you know, but even still, I went to North Carolina and had gave them, or was that here? One time I went to one of these camps and gave them a whole handout and was like, this is a formality. We're doing something totally different. So, I did that here? Yeah, so, I mean, because, man, this don't be like, oh, okay, well, this is what I want to come. Now, and don't get it twisted. Like I look on what we taught here, so that I'm not trying to replicate anything that's been done already. You know, try to, and then I got to think about, you know, what each brother is capable of teaching. And so, although I know a couple of brothers feel like they probably could teach this, I probably barely can teach it myself. So therefore, that's how I look at that. So I do kind of look at that aspect of it. But most of the time, man, I be praying to God. Like, you know, like, you know what my thought was? When you asked me what was I teaching, and do I have, you know what my thought was to teach? The simplicity in Christ. We'd be done by now. I mean, I'm just telling you, that was a lesson that, you know, I got about 8, 9 scriptures in my head. Once I started writing, I probably would have came up with the rest of it. You know what I mean? But it just don't be working like that. Like, you just pray to the Lord, and this is where we at. So at any rate, Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2. So that's why you talking about. He called me this morning talking about something. I don't think you got my text. I'm like, nah, Negro, I got your text. Like, I got it, yeah. He was like, yeah, but I got 3 hours to go to the year. I'm like, yeah, all right, bro. Yeah, so I'm just letting you know. But I will. You got it for next week, Lord willing. And then also, just know with me personally, once I print it, then I'll send it. That'll be the easiest way to know. But anyway, Daniel chapter 2, and let's pick this up at verse 31. Daniel 2 and 31. So Daniel having another dream here. And when we get there, go ahead. So, no, what it is, it ain't Daniel this time, I'm sorry. Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And Nebuchadnezzar doesn't remember the dream. So what he gonna do is send out to all the people and say, hey, if y'all don't figure out this dream, I'm come and interpret what this dream means. I'm killing all y'all so-called wise men. Now, meantime, Daniel been chilling. Maybe he ain't here. Maybe he wasn't with them wise men. But when he hear about it, he stay calm. He like, man, God the one break down dreams. So, we just holler at God. We got this. We ain't got to die about this. So here's the interpretation of the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. All right. And again, what we're doing in this, the title is Armageddon, the end to Babylon. So again, what we're doing right now is establishing. So the first 8 scriptures, I guess, was establishing Babylon. Okay, according to the Bible. And then we'll bring them to the battlefield when we get here next week, starting at Revelation 6. Because Revelation 6 is going to actually bring their king to the forefront during the time of Jesus. So I guess today was more of the historical part. Next week could be some of the prophetic. But at any rate, Daniel 2 and 31, when you get there, go ahead.
Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. So
he's like, you saw this great image that stood before you, and the form of this image, it was scary, like terrible looking. All right, go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold.
All right, so he said that the image of the head was gold. So we're gonna put the gold up here too, because this actual image this image that he saw represent Babylon again. All right, so he saw gold. Go ahead.
His breast and his arms of silver.
Then he had breast and arms of silver. It's a statue he looking at. Go ahead.
His belly and his thighs of brass.
And I don't know if you know anything but about materials, but that's the field I'm in. Each material, as we go down, well, it is actually getting heavier. The material is actually getting, gold is lighter and soft. Silver is harder than gold. Brass is harder than silver. And then what's the last one we're going to get to, bro?
His legs of iron.
Iron. So this is the strongest of them, actually. But when we say the strongest, this is the most precious, exactly. But notice what it is. It's Babylon, the mother of harlots. So yeah, Babylon is the goal, but the strength is all through Rome. So this is a statue he was looking at. We're going to show you that this statue that he's looking at is a representation of this dynasty. But he said, what verse was we at, bro? Oh, he said, verse 32, the image's head was a fine gold, and his breast and his arms of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass. If anybody got a phone and you just go to Google and just type up Daniel chapter 2 and just hit search, you'll see a picture. It's going. All of what we doing, honestly, you can see a picture. If you went to Revelation 13, if you typed up Revelation 13 and then go to image, It show you that picture. If you go to Daniel 7, like all these images, people have drawn them out, and you can literally go to your phone and get a visual of it. But at any rate, verse 33, read that.
His legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
So he had legs of iron, and his feet was iron mixed with clay. Because that clay, now notice how I got iron is strong and clay is weak. I mean, clay, we can, but clay is interesting though, because you can cook clay, and it'll harden up. So so it's just interesting that it's weak, but at the same time, mixed or done properly, it could be strong. Because what we're doing is we're taking a statue, and we're saying that the bottom of the statue is the end of the dynasty, and the end of the dynasty is both weak and strong. Because watch who's going to destroy this dynasty. Go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
Right, but a stone came and just broke it. Broke that statue. A stone hit the feet, and the whole statue fell. Okay? What verse are we at? 35. Go ahead, read that.
Then was the iron, the clay.
Oh, no, that's good. I'm sorry. No, you're right. Keep reading. I'm sorry.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth.
Right. And notice what happened. It said that the stone that smote the image became a great mountain. And because really, and that's what we're going to take this all the way to, was when the Lord returns, and that's what, like when you look at Isaiah chapter 2, and it talks about mountain, and the Lord going to rule from there and so on, because this is government. And that's what it's saying. It became a great government, and it filled the whole earth. This is the dream. And we would tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Verse 37. Go ahead.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, the power and strength.
So Daniel is talking to Nebuchadnezzar, and he breaking down, like he had told somebody the interpretation, but now he breaking it down to Nebuchadnezzar. He like, you king, God done gave the whole earth to you. Go ahead.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given unto thy hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
So he said, you the head of gold, Nebuchadnezzar. Go ahead, keep reading.
And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee.
He said, but when you come, it's going to come another kingdom inferior to you. Go ahead.
And another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the married clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with married clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
Go ahead.
But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Yeah, so when it's all said and done, because when you look at this dynasty here, where it's going to end up is, it's going to end up in the hands of two men, an antichrist and a military leader. When I say the antichrist, I'm saying the Pope and the military leader. And what are they going to really rule as a country? Europe. You say, well, how are they going to rule Europe as a country? Like Europe is France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, all this. Okay. But really, if you go into the details, after World War I and after World War II, different treaties and things came of nature. One called the Treaty of Rome, a coal treaty, COAL, coal treaty. The that they used for train. What that did was that broke down the price of that allowed you to travel through Europe without paying money. So like you going from country to country, but it's like free. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, see, so it made it like the United States. See, the United States was the real guinea pig for what Europe is going to be. So now the final step in the final process is this euro, this dollar. Mm-hmm. See, in America, at one point, New York had a dollar, Pennsylvania had a dollar, New Jersey had a dollar, Ohio didn't exist then. Connecticut had a dollar. Like each one had their own money.
13 colonies.
Exactly. Well, a little bit more than the 13 colonies, but exactly. They all had their own money. And the value was per individual state or province or colony. You know, they all had their own. Same as Europe. But eventually we became the United States of America. And in our Constitution, we backed our money by gold, which we ain't did in a while, and we gave our country the permission to print the money via Congress, which we ain't did in a while. But what we were doing, we were setting. They were the Europeans who made us, by the way, Britain, France, Spain. That's what made this country. Was really setting the precedence of what they are to become. So, and what do we have here? We have a military. And we protect our money via that military. We protect our power via that military. Well, that's what Europe will be doing. They will have to come up with a military, and they actually have one. And now they even have countries that's deriving or becoming what is called the 10, which is the power behind what Europe is. Some weak, some strong, iron mixed with clay. And so this is where this whole statue was taken and walking you to. And when you pay attention, you see at the very end that a stone came and smashed this statue. All right. So what verse was we at there? Verse 44.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms.
Go ahead.
And it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
So Nebuchadnezzar was told by Daniel, he was like, the dream, the interpretation, all this, like, this is what it means. And really, that, brothers and sisters, is, I guess, our introduction in part one to the final end to Babylon. Is introducing you to Babylon. And I guess, Lord willing, at that point, we'll start dealing with taking it to the prophetic part, to where we don't, the stuff that we haven't come to. Revelation 6 will definitely cover. Those are the seals, and each seal, the Revelation 6 is really the introduction of the Antichrist. And then we'll go get into the trumpets, and once we get to the seals is what's first. That's Revelation 6, and the last seal opens up the first trump. So the seals is like the Antichrist doing his thing, and the trumps is God doing his thing. And we're going to learn all this, Lord willing, next week. And at the fifth trump, I want to say, no, actually, at the sixth seal, I think, and we'll get to it next week, is when the Lord actually returns. And then he going to bring his wrath, vials of wrath, via the trumpets. And Armageddon will be the sixth trumpet. And then we'll see the fall of Rome. So hopefully, I know we got here a little late, but hopefully we learned something today about Babylon, and we'll finish it up, Lord willing, tomorrow. And I thank you for your time. Well, first of all, and it's not my crew fault. I appreciate Brother Richard, because I was able to sleep, but he drove us up here, and it's not their fault, because they beat me to the church. But still, I was there in my mind with plenty of time to get here. But I was sleeping. They said once we crossed that bridge, which one you said it was? The Verrazano? He said once we crossed that bridge, it was all I know is I woke up and was like, oh wow. And then I looked at the clock and was like, 3 hours? I was like, good. So, it's definitely not my crew fault. But I will. We fussed at, and it's funny too, but we fussed at the brothers for being here so late. 1:30, which is the time we got here. Look, our start time is 1 o'clock. And I'll be sure, starting with myself next week, and I guess we got to leave at like 8. Because even leaving at 9 based off of what happened today, if we were left at 9, we still would have been late. And that's
usually 8:30. 8:30 you get here by like 12. You have an hour by the time you get here.
Yeah.
To sit down and get everything straight.
Okay.
But that traffic is really unforeseeable.
Yeah.
That's the worst it's been.
Predicated on the weekend
Since I've
that's
been
coming up.
Yeah. What you said is beach week this week?
School just got out.
Oh.
So it's summer. This is the official start of summer.
We have the Rockaways beaches.
Yeah.
We have Long Island beaches. So that's something that we need to consider in reference to transportation to get me at the time.
Yeah, well, it's going to have, no, it's not. I mean, we ain't but 100 miles away. So, I mean, you figure we should be able to get here on time.
When you guys hit traffic? And
I was asleep. But I think they said once we crossed the bridge, once we got to New York. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so.
We have Coney Island right there.
Yeah.
Plug into Coney Island.
So I number one, do apologize, but class does start at 1 o'clock. And that is 1 o'clock because we given, who the main person who I'll be trying to make sure is here, like on time and don't miss, is Brother Orlando. Because I know he be coming in from Boston. You still come in that morning, right? And so, that's who I be most thinking about, to be honest with you. And so that's why we moved the start time to 1, but that don't mean that the Philly brothers get here at 1:30 though. Like, that's unacceptable, and I apologize, and we'll leave earlier. And again, that's all I can say. But class does start at 1 on the head. Other than that, I'll let y'all get to the announcements.
We welcome you and hope today's lesson increase your knowledge of the Holy Bible. Audio and videotapes, CDs and DVDs of the Sabbath lesson and of Thy Kingdom Come are available. Write your order on an offering envelope and it will be filled next Sabbath. If you are interested in being baptized, please place your name on the list at the literature table. Remember to follow the dress code when attending our services. Men should remove hats and all head coverings during service times. Women should wear a head covering such as a hat or a scarf during the service. Women should not wear tight-fitting pants or skirts or revealing clothing. Attire should be modest according to the Bible. Your tithes and offerings are always appreciated. Please place your tithes and offerings in an offering envelope and deposit it in the offering box. If your child becomes restless during the Bible lesson, we encourage you to remove your child from the room until he or she has settled. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Again, thank you for coming, and we hope to see you next Sabbath. Peace.
Peace. Just a couple of other things. Make sure you keep the Philly class in prayer because our lease is up at the end of July, and we running from Pharaoh, and we getting to the Red Sea, and it ain't open yet. So we just waiting on the Lord, but just keep us in prayer. We definitely gonna have something. Lord willing, it's gonna be bigger than where we are, so that we can definitely accommodate the mass amount of people we have for the feast. But even just on the normal. So just keep us in prayer there with that, as well as Atlanta. They are they lease up too, but they just under a different set of circumstances where they can kind of go month to month. So just keep us in prayer on that there, and make sure y'all praying for one another. People y'all know they be here that y'all don't see. Keep them in prayer. And that's about it. Anything else? Anything I'm missing? All right, y'all. So we will stand face Jerusalem, close it out, and then 5 o'clock we'll start Bible study.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come.
thy will be done
Thy will be done
in earth
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts
and forgive us our debts
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory.
and the glory.
Praise the Lord,
Praise the Lord,
for he is good,
for he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel,
Praise the Lord, the God of Israel,
for he is good,
for he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
These things we pray in Jesus' name,
These things we pray in Jesus' name,
the Holy One of Israel,
the Holy One of Israel,
the Mighty One of Jacob,
the Mighty One of Jacob,
King of kings,
King of kings,
the Lord of lords,
the Lord of lords,
the one true God,
the one true God,
and there is no other.
and there is no other.
In Jesus' name,
In Jesus' name,
amen.
amen. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee,
The Lord make his face shine
upon thee,
and be gracious unto thee.
and be gracious unto thee.
The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee,
The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee,
and give thee peace.
and give thee peace.
And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel,
And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel,
and I will bless them.
and I will bless them.
Hallelujah!
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 In Jesus'
In
name,
Jesus' name.
amen.
I lift it up to read.